Good morning and welcome to Searching Through Scriptures. I'm Father Terry and I welcome you here again to St. David's Church in Welland, Ontario. And I'm thrilled that you could be with us again as we explore meaningful parts of the Bible. They're all meaningful, and we try and infuse and talk about the way in which they affect our everyday life. Today, I want to particularly turn your attention to the gospel written by St. Matthew, and in particular, chapter 22, verses 15 through 22. It's a great story. It's a story of confrontation. It's a story of manipulation where the disciples of the Pharisees come to Jesus and ask him a question that they believe Jesus cannot answer in a way that won't get him in trouble. If he answers one way, he'll create a situation where he'll have conflict with the Romans. If he answers another way, he'll create a situation where he has conflict with the Pharisees. So in posing this particular question, the disciples of the Pharisees feel that they have one on Jesus. And Jesus' response here and actions for me are brilliant. One of the things that I talked about this week in church during my homily was, when we as mainline Christians are oftentimes confronted about our faith, we tend to shy away from proclaiming it. We don't want to step on any toes. We've been taught in our secular society that we shouldn't impose our values or views on anyone else. This is entirely contrary to what Jesus does in this story. He takes the disciples of the Pharisees head on and explains his answer in such a way that they have no response. And then I said to the people who were in church on Sunday, how many of you know atheists who love the opportunity to challenge you on your faith? I know many of them, and perhaps it's because I walk around in a collar. They love to come up to me and try and convince me that my faith in God, in Jesus Christ, is somehow flawed. This idea that there is a creator is somehow to them ridiculous. Now, we could go into lots of conversations and discussions about why I feel that their opinions are flawed, and they oftentimes start off in similar ways and end in similar ways, and that being they ultimately have no real answer for disproving the existence of God. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is the two sides of the coin. And the two sides of the coin for me represent things of this worldly life and our own spirituality and relationship with God. So not unlike, I would imagine, the currency of the day when Jesus was alive, our coins too tend to have a picture of, either a monarch, in our case it is the Queen of England, or perhaps in other countries it is one of their political leaders, historical or current. So let's turn now to Matthew chapter 22, verse 15 through 22, and let's read this story together. Then the Pharisees went and plotted to entrap him in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth, and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" Now, at this point, I envision the people who were there, who were sent to ask the questions, hanging on every word of Jesus's in order to see if he would trip himself up. Because again, the whole point of this question was to create a situation where Jesus could not talk his way out of the question. And now we go on with verse 18. But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this, and whose title?" And they answered, "The emperor's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away. What a brilliant response by Jesus. Give to the emperor the things that belong to the emperor. For me, that constitutes two things. First, the coin represents worldly things. And one of the things that you need to recognize is at the time of Jesus's ministry and life on earth, the emperors at that time saw themselves as divine, as having authority over the world's people from God, well, from gods, and therefore felt that they themselves were divine in nature. So not only when Jesus picks up the coin and twirls it nonchalantly in his fingers, looking at it, not only is he, I believe, saying, leave worldly things to the world, to the emperor, to the people who have dominion and authority over these matters, and give things to God. What he also is saying, I think, is that even though the fact that these emperors see themselves as divine, they're not really. They're just things of this world, just like the coin. It's a symbol of worldly things, not divine things. Now that's profound in a time when emperors and leaders would have seen themselves as having divine authority. So that's the first issue I want to talk about. The second one is your own spirituality. What we have here from Jesus is this question to us, really, as he poses in his answer. What are we doing to feed the spiritual things of our life? So as we look around the world, and particularly we look at things that are happening during this time of pandemic, and we see cases rising and people talking about the economy and the need to open up and not to be afraid of these things and to move forward because the leadership of various countries thinks it's a good idea. I wonder if those are the worldly things that Jesus is referring to: economy, power, politics, all those things that we as Christians, although we should be concerned with, we need to recognize that they are finite. They have a limit to how long they last. But those eternal things, those things of a spiritual nature, your relationship with Jesus, is something that we need to take more seriously, that we need to invest more of our time in, because ultimately this is a relationship that lasts not only in this life, but in the life to come. And so I don't want to lecture you on what you need to do or how you need to attend to your own spirituality, but what I do want to raise with you is the question: how are you in your daily life, week to week, attending to your spiritual relationship with God? And so what I said on Sunday was, if I had a rope in my hands, because I've seen this this type of sermon on YouTube done by a number of people, where they take a rope and they throw it out into the audience, and the rope is 50 feet long, and on the very end of it, they tape off an area in a particular color, and they say, you're attending to your worldly lives throughout the majority of your life, but how much time are you actually spending thinking about your spirituality, knowing that these are things that are eternal in nature, and the relationship with God and Jesus Christ is probably the most important relationship that you'll ever have. So that's the question that I want to leave you with this week. Think about the ways in which you attend to your spiritual relationship with God. What are you doing? How are you strengthening it? And what I'd really love you to do is to share those thoughts and comments with us on our Facebook page so that others who are considering ways in which they may be able to grow their relationship with God and their spirituality might take note and might find some of your comments and suggestions helpful. Once again, thank you for joining us here at St. David's. I'm Father Terry. I'm thrilled that you could be with us, and I wish you a great and safe week. See you again next week.